Okay, guys, it's a real pleasure when I have the MDX Works team with for talks anywhere from students to professors, guests, and so on. MDX Works is it's a key component to our university success, in a sense that without having academics talking to people who can help the students with their careers, the university is missing. The university strategy is missing out, and of course, most of the universities have shifted now, not only considering students who graduate with good degrees and a high grade, but actually students who graduate with degrees that will help them get jobs which relate to their subject area and their expertise. And this is what makes a university a successful institution. So to that part of the strategy, MDX Works is a key component, key element, and a driver in several projects. A little bit of context. Obviously, you know that the Project REACH is a project that supports universities in Palestine to create, if you like, innovative ways of supporting freelance graduates and introducing, if you like, career services for students, employability services for their students. So for this talk, it's only 1 hour talk. Alan, who directs the unit, will say a few things, not a few things, will provide an overview, if you like. And Claire and Rabia, they are on the operational side of the unit as well, and they will be explaining how this works. Of course, I can explain from my side, the academic side, and how we work hand in hand. At the same time, it's a huge pleasure to every time I see Rabia, because Rabia graduated for our own business information systems program. So basically, all the things that I've been showing you for the past 3 years and the way that we've been teaching, Rabia was victimized for 3 years, but eventually something good came out of it, having a great career with MDX Works. So once again, apologies for any memories that have been stressful, Rabia, and thank you so much for the wonderful work that you're doing in MDX Works, helping our graduates and us academics. That's it, me giving a very lengthy introduction, Alan, as always. So, please, the floor is yours. Thank you.
George, thank you very much for inviting us to talk, and welcome everyone who's participating. It's really great to meet you, to see you electronically. I hope what we can provide you is an overview of MDX Works, which is the university's employability and career service. And I'm going to kind of focus on not just what we do, a very brief overview of what we do, but actually what our kind of key plans are and our sort of strategy and priorities for going forward as well. And obviously, we'll be very happy to take any questions at the end as well. So I'm just going to share my screen, and I hope you can see. So is that okay? Cool. And just let me know if that's moving forward. Okay. So there's an understanding within Middlesex University that our students are a very dynamic, diverse cohort of students, and we are not Oxford, or we are not Cambridge, we're not Imperial or UCL, and because of our access routes and our widening participation principles, which we're extremely proud of, it means that our intake of students come from very varied backgrounds. Often, in fact, in most cases, in many cases, first in family, attending university, many from lower socioeconomic backgrounds, and many from disadvantaged backgrounds. So there are challenges, and one of the key things that we recognize at Middlesex is that we have to provide our students with the aspirations and the belief that they are as capable of taking up their desired roles in society as anyone else. They may need a little bit more work and support, but it's incumbent on us as a service and as a wider university to provide the support, the development, the nurturing, so that regardless of their background and circumstance, they can actually realize the aspirations that they have. So our approach is not just a linear approach of support in the, the traditional context, we strive to respect every student and work with them as individuals with individual aspirations, their lived experiences, their social cultural background, their vulnerabilities, their challenges, so that we provide each and every student that we interact with as much support and development so that they can reach their aspirations. So I just wanted to give that little bit of context before going into some of the more strategic priorities of the service. We want our university students or graduates from Middlesex not to graduate with a degree and a bit of hope. We actually want them to graduate with the degree and a real sense of felt confidence in their ability to reach their aspirations. So frameworks and employability strategies and support mechanisms for employability services can be quite complex, and ours have been relatively complex up until now, and we are going through a process of radical simplification. So we are trying to strip away some of the complexities so that we can provide a much more clear, accessible support mechanism for students coming through Middlesex University. But in a very simple kind of overview of what we do at MDX Works, we look to support students in preparing them for a world of opportunities when they graduate. We look to ensure that they can confidently step into the next chapter of their career journey, and that they're fully able to articulate and evidence their true worth and their true value to employers. How we do that is through a blend of tailored one-to-one support, so traditional information, advice, and guidance support that you would expect from an employability service, to help the students identify their aspirations, their strengths, and their potentials, their lived experiences, as I mentioned before, and to put value on their social and cultural background and beliefs, so that they are equally as important. And then we also offer a range of sort of co-curricular programs that our students can engage with outside of the traditional one-to-one support that you would expect from a career service. We're a relatively small team of about 20, of which 8.5 are currently advisors. So our ratio, the true ratio of advisor to student within our London campus, and we predominantly focus on our London campus, is 1 to about 1,800. The average across other universities in the UK is around about 1 to 500. So we are challenged with capacity. And so that has informed how we are moving forward with a new framework that we are about to launch in the next 2-3 months. In the UK, we have a metric called graduate outcomes, which is the increasingly important metric that measures graduates' employment status 15 months after they have graduated. It used to be a survey conducted 6 months after. It's now moved to 15 months. That survey and the metrics that come from it play an increasingly important role in league tables within the UK. And of course, the league tables are very influential on students looking at universities, options going forward. So graduate outcomes is really important. So that again has highlighted the need for us to review how we operate as a service, so that we are better preparing our students to jump into the world of work, and therefore to increase their graduate outcome potential. Graduate outcomes are measured in a particular way that dictates a level of professional employment relative to their program of study, and is a particularly coded system that not everyone agrees with, including us, but it's the metric that we have to work with. That requires partnership. That graduate outcome metric cannot just be owned by the employability service. It has to be owned and a responsibility of the wider university, because the student's journey is all encompassing. So anything that we do, we increasingly have to look at how we can partner and collaborate with other services, the faculties and academic colleagues, of course, and on how we better prepare the students for those graduate level jobs. A very simple way, it would look like this. We collaborate with services and faculties and academic colleagues. We co-create with students and the Students' Union to develop and nurture the skills via support, helping students to tell their story or confidently articulate their story, and therefore in a better position to obtain those graduate roles that they're seeking. In reality, it's obviously not as easy as that. So we have to look at how we break that down into different models of collaboration with faculties and with partners across the university. What you see here is a very high level summary, I guess, of 6 key areas that we work with within the service. The embedding employability is obviously our strategic priority at the moment. We need to be more embedded within the curriculum. And there are a couple of, priorities or kind of models within that we are prioritizing in the framework. We very much believe in practice-based approach, and practice-based is at the core of the university's new strategy looking forward to 2031. So we're actually quite enthused by the fact that is or will play an important part in the pedagogical approach of the university. And our belief as a service is that by actually working on real projects for real clients with real deadlines, the student has a unique opportunity to put the theoretical learning into practice in a very simplistic way. So our core in our approach is very much encouraging project-based and practice-based collaboration, transdisciplinary, but I'll talk about that a little bit later. Work-related learning and activities. So any activity that students are working on, whether that's part-time work, which many of our students do, or working on campus as part of our recruitment, online on-campus recruitment service that Claire will talk about a little bit later. We want students to be able to reflect on those and to identify the skills that they are learning through those activities that they're doing anyway. And that might, would also include things like volunteering work as well. The one-to-one IEG, as I mentioned earlier, will still be a core part of the service. But we've realized that because of our capacity, we have a limited kind of ceiling, if you like, of how many students we can actually see. So we're moving from a one-to-one primary kind of core service to reaching out to one-to-many within the new framework. We do offer co-curricular programs. So those programs or initiatives that sit outside the curriculum. And I'll talk a little bit about those in more detail. And obviously employer engagement is key to what we do. So we increasingly look to extend our external networks with employers and other organizations who share our values around diversity and social mobility and the rightful place for young people in society, regardless of background and circumstance. And that's really kind of in our ethos as a service. So taking some of those components and radically simplifying them, I guess, into our key priorities for the year going forward. I'll go through these quite briefly. Service introduction program is really quite simple in its model. It's looking at having our advisors timetabled into core program modules each year at specific times so that we can signpost, highlight events, update, provide news, but provide, the signpost to the service that many of our students don't see. And it's really just to keep the service and the support that we offer in the front of students' minds so that they can tap into it. Second is a relatively new addition and called the personal expansion curriculum, which we're really excited about, and this has been piloted very successfully in one of the faculties, particularly within sports. And we're looking to take that model and replicate it, customize it, if you like, across other programs. Very simplistically, it's a block of activities, short bite-sized modules that students can dip into without taking up too much of their time, but actually just gives them these bite-sized kind of insights maybe into the sector or the opportunities within their particular program kind of scope. And it allows us to gently start to embed our information and support materials and resources into the curriculum. And eventually what we'll be looking to do is to have this as a distinct employability module that sits within all faculties. And thirdly, the MDX Works modules. So we are keen to develop 2 to 3 modules that are owned by MDX Works. And these will focus, one, on work-related activities, so providing an opportunity for students who are working part-time or doing voluntary work, or activities doing anyway, to have those modules, or to have that work, recognized and reflected on, so that we can help them to identify those transferable skills that they are learning. Sometimes they're learning them without knowing they're learning them. But it feels such a shame that many of our students are working part-time alongside their studies, but actually not being able to make the most of what they're learning through those activities. The other module within that is the project-based modules. So that's where we're looking to push the agenda on having transdisciplinary, collaborative, experiential learning. So effectively, a student team made up of students from different areas, different programs, different faculties, working on real projects with real clients, with real deadlines, with a little bit of real pressure and expectation to reflect as much as possible the real world. It happens in pockets across the university, but our sense is that pockets don't really work. And if we are to make an impact on our graduate outcomes, then we need to establish this as a recognized, wider, more profiled approach to project collaboration. Then we want to implement a kind of survey mechanism. So we already have a pre-arrival survey, which we piloted or has been piloted within the university in the last year or so. We want to extend that so that at certain touch points throughout the student journey, we can curate how they are getting on, what's their experience, what skills are they gaining, what skills do they feel they are lacking, what is the key support that they still feel they need to address, and their aspirations, so that we can kind of work with them through that whole journey. And importantly, we would build a survey in at 6 months after graduation, so that we can start to track graduates and alumni, so that we can offer that extended support beyond graduation, with one eye obviously on the graduate outcomes survey, which happens 15 months after graduation. Then we would also look to timetable in certain events, and we run a careers festival called Gradstock. It runs as a 5-day event every year with employer engagement, keynote speakers, lots of activities and workshops and seminars. We would look to distill that down, but actually have it timetabled in so that more students can access it and get the learnings from it and make those connections with it. Those are the 5 key priorities for our service going forward as part of our framework. I won't go too much into detail of this because I know time is short, but you know, an assumption as an example, you know, an embedded employability program increases the awareness of the support provision. So that relates to that service introduction program, where we can be in front of one-to-many, so core program modules, where there are, you know, multiple students in the lectures, that we can actually just collectively give them the information about what the service provides and the support. And then you can see the personal expansion curriculum, the modules, and the survey, and then grad stock here. So those again are the 5 key priorities that we have. I've talked very briefly about these modules. As I say, they do happen, and they've, you know, they've been tried and you know, previously, but our approach is that we need to revitalize those modules and give them a new sense of life, and profile them better to students, so that more students are aware of the ability to undertake those modules. We've piloted the project consultancy module in a number of programs. It's been really successful, and those are predominantly within distinct programs. So for instance, we've got BA Marketing 3rd year, who have about 15 projects across about 55 to 60 students. These are real projects with real clients with business critical needs that the students are working on as part of an assessed credit bearing module. That's great, and we want to extend that, but the next step is trying to facilitate that as part of a transdisciplinary module. So getting to that point where we do have students from different skill sets working on a project, because ultimately that is how the real world works generally outside, and there's lots of research on that as well. So so that's our aim. We are just completing a revision of what was previously the Middlesex graduate attributes, and this will be known as the Middlesex graduate capabilities. And this is looking at future-proofing our graduates, by looking and researching the skills for the future that employers are discussing and talking about, and very fluid. And so we've looked at skills for the future that are talked about in journals, articles, with employers. We've consulted with employers, and what are those skills looking like in the next 3, 5, 7 years? We can't really go beyond that because things change very quickly, as we've seen in the pandemic in the last 2 or 3 years. Simply as an example, the ability to handle remote working, the ability to work on your own, but with multiple teams across multiple time zones, across multiple cultures. That's a skill that wasn't really as in demand previously, but it will be in the future. So that will be coming out as a draft set of capabilities in the next couple of months, and it will go out to consultation with the university and other wider stakeholders. The idea is that will underpin a portfolio review and assessment review that's currently underway or about to be undertaken within the university, so that we can map those capabilities into the programs as where we can, and also, also underpin those capabilities with those core program skills as well, so that we can start to map and track and build in the ability for students to embrace those capabilities as they move through their journey. Interestingly, not all of the capabilities or the skills are hard technical skills. They are increasingly, I hate the term soft skills, so I'm not going to use that. That they are increasingly more emotional, social skills, which reflects the kind of the modern workplace. And so it's interesting how the challenge will be for us to define those skills and translate those skills so that our students understand them. The exciting part about that is that, given the demographic of Middlesex University, many of our students will already have those skills in abundance. And one of the skills which will pop up here is obviously resilience. And we know, given the demographic, our students have resilience in abundance because of backgrounds and circumstances. So it's both a challenge to understand what those skills are. How do we translate them so students understand what they are and how to obtain them? But also to understand that they may, with a bit of internal reflection, realize that they actually have those skills anyway from other activities that they're doing. So it's an exciting but challenging period ahead with that. So we've moved slightly away from just the standard presentation skills, communication, we've added in, or there are skills that are coming in, terms that are slightly more subjective, I guess: empathy and inclusion, resilience, creativity, curiosity, innovation. So they're not hard technical skills. And many of these skills will never be learned by a PowerPoint or just in a book. They will have to be experienced and embedded through experience. And that's why we are focusing very much on that project or practice-based approach. So in support of that, and also in parallel with that, we are also embarking on expanding a micro-credential and digital badging kind of offer. So micro-credentials are rapidly becoming the buzz the buzz activity across universities, and certainly within the UK, we are actually kind of pioneering those in a way at Middlesex, just because of how we're thinking ahead of how we're going to use them. We've piloted a number of different programs with micro-credentials, so students being able to engage in an activity to then understand the skill that they are gaining, and then to be awarded with a micro-credential, which is obviously encrypted, highly secure, portable. And the idea is that, very simply, the degree is not enough, in the modern world. So coming out with a 2-1 in accountancy and finance is great, but you are coming out with a 2-1 in accountancy and finance as thousands of other students are, or graduates. So how do we create that distinctiveness for our graduates? So these micro-credentials allow us to engage students in some of those co-curricular activities that they can undertake, which gives them the transcript for their taught degree, but also the story that they can tell about these other activities that they've engaged in. And that's really important, again, given the position of Middlesex in institutional kind of reputation. So to facilitate that, we've got something called the CAP Awards, which competency, activity, and portfolio. Competency being aligned to the competency or the capability, the activity that students will undertake to gain that competency or capability, and then the portfolio obviously as a reflection of that stackable backpack of skills, additional skills above and beyond the top program. So very, very quickly, I'll just run through some of the programs, the co-curricular programs we do very quickly. So we've got a student startup program. So every year we invite students who have a startup idea to come onto a program of masterclasses, workshops, mentoring, and then they eventually pitch to win seed funding. We've got an emerging professional program, which we run in the summer. And again, this is students invited across all programs, all faculties, to engage in a range of workshops and skills development, both online and or hybrid, and then to collaborate, again, transdisciplinary on real projects. MDX Advantage is a specific third year, final year project or program, which is quite distinct, and it's a little bit harder to get on that, and it's a bit of a boot camp, if you like, so it's quite intense. What it's aim is to produce a cohort of final year students who are really kind of the elite, if you like. They've really kind of gone the extra mile. MDXL is the project-based approach, the collaborative experiential learning. So that's where we've piloted the project and transdisciplinary projects to date. Eventually, we hope that will be embedded in the curriculum. MDX Equals is really important to us. It's about celebrating and showcasing and highlighting the diversity of Middlesex students, so that ultimately they feel part of a community. And by feeling part of a community, we strongly believe that their confidence will be stronger going forward because of that community support. I'll stop there because I'd like to hand over to Rabia and Claire. George, I presume you want to do questions after, or should?
They can come in as they like. I mean, we can have them in the chat, or we can have them, you know, like anybody who wants to unmute, guys. Do you have any questions in terms of how how MDX works is run, Sadiq?
Yes, in fact, I have some questions, and I think George Gerges, he's very near for this stuff, and he has also something in his mind. But first, in fact, I would like to ask about mainly the skill for the future. The systematic or the system you have, do you have specific people working on this research in a continuous basis? Because it's dynamic, in fact, and always there is a gap between the industry and the academia. Okay, and it needs a lot of efforts to gather information about what the industry needs and to predict what their future need, even though sometimes they don't know what they need in terms of skills. And this I assume about technical skills. And what about the other skills? I mean, for the soft skills, it is at the university level or at the faculty level it is delivered. And what is your role as the alumni center? How do you affect the university requirement or the faculty requirement for these skills? Yeah, in fact, it's really interesting topic, and I assume I have much more questions about this stuff. Thank you, Alan.
Great, well, great questions. I'll attempt to cover them as quickly as I can. So we conducted a study of journals and articles that you know, specifically we're looking at skills for the future. As an example, looking at LinkedIn, there were reports by McKinsey and Deloitte looking at the skills for the future that employers are talking about. We've reached out to our employers and stakeholders and consulted them and asked them to validate some of the skills that we've got from that research, but also to provide us the skills that are maybe not being talked about in those journals, so that we've collected as much a resource of those skills as we can. It's always going to be a challenge, and we're not going to say we're going to get it right, to have a generic set of 10 capabilities that are relevant to each and every program, but they will be thought more about in a way that the Middlesex graduate will demonstrate this skill, will have had the opportunity to develop empathy and inclusion, will have had the opportunity to develop their resilience. Underpinning those will, of course, be the core program skills that are distinct to that particular program, whether technical or theoretical. But so these graduate capabilities will kind of sit at this kind of high level, and then there will be these underpinning skills. So the high level skills are almost the macro credentials. Those underpinning skills are the micro credentials, which will stack up towards those skills. So for instance, leadership and influence as a macro credential. You know, so we recognize that the last graduate attributes were done in 2016. I will be proposing that this revision of graduate capabilities will be revised again in no more than 3 years, because those skills and those terms change so frequently. It will be slightly subjective, and we are trying to define those skills relevant to the cohort that we have as well. So, and so that it's been incumbent on us, and I've taken the responsibility to pull together from the research a draft set of capabilities that we will then put to the university for consultation. I fully expect to get pushback on many of them. So, you know, I don't expect everyone to go, yeah, Alan, that's great. Let's map those into learning outcomes. I know that's not going to happen, but it opens up the discussion.
But I mean, at our university, for example, we have hundreds of programs, okay, and I cannot, in fact, imagine how we can handle or how we can make research on all the skills required for each program at the university level. It's a huge effort if you centralized it at the Alumni Center, I assume. So do you have some system to manage this stuff, in fact?
To manage the research.
Yeah, the technical skills, I assume it is totally different, and you cannot have an overview about all the technical skills at each program at the university.
No, you know, though, if you're referring to those technical skills that already reside within the modules as learning outcomes, then already have those, and we're not looking at these capabilities, this high level. We're not looking at those to replace those. I think that's what I was saying, is that this will be a very high level skills for the future that we have consulted across sectors. So we are not just looking at these as being, okay, this is just law or just for this technology. These are skills that have been referenced as skills across, generally across many sectors. Of course, Python, Java, cybersecurity, those technical skills, Sage accounting, whatever it might be, those are distinct technical skills that will be there as core program skills, core specific skills. We're not looking to override those.
Okay, I got it. Thank you, Alan.
So George, will we ask Rabia and Claire to come in, and I'll stop, because you know what I'm like.
Yes, please. Yeah.
Okay, so first of all, thank you, George, for such a great introduction, and thank you for having us here. So myself, I'll go through more on operational level, the work that I do as an employability advisor. So as Alan mentioned, we have 8.5 advisors. I happen to be one of them. And I am the advisor for science and technology, mainly supporting computer science and design engineering mathematics department. I have my colleague Claire here with me, and Claire will go through a little bit more about one of the programs and UniTemp's part-time work opportunities that we offer on our campus. So I have a slide to share with you all. That will briefly go over some of the activities that I run with students for employability related. So first of all, as I mentioned, I am the advisor for science and tech. We have 5 different departments: computer science, design engineering mathematics, natural science, psychology, and sports science. I have previously supported all 5 departments as well, but now we do have different colleagues looking after different areas. So our first and main thing is to collaborate with the academics and work within the departments. So from the beginning of the academic year, which starts around September, October, to the following year, we try to get involved by doing induction talks, so we can reach out to wider range of students from the beginning of their student journey, from foundation year and year 1. We try to do employability embedded sessions within the programs. For example, I've been working closely with mathematics department, and my colleagues, I know they work closely with other departments too. So where we have not just one-off workshops, but more, for example, week 1 until end of week 24 of teaching. And we do different variety of workshops for different themes to help students engage in career-related activities. We work within the department for different projects as well, with the academics and different events that run as part of the department as well on department level. I try to be involved with them as an employability advisor for the students, so the students can directly engage with me and be aware that they have an academic employability advisor to come and seek support from. So supporting on all levels, we try to do one-to-one, face-to-face. This can be through appointments, drop-ins, online as well. At the moment, because of the whole pandemic, we're using Zoom quite, in a lot of variety of the one-to-ones and the workshops. We do group workshops face-to-face, again, online as well, and emails as the main kind of means for communication with the students. So there's different, obviously, year groups, and we try to focus around for each area and the year. For foundation and year 1, for undergraduates, we try to focus on the introduction to our service. So all the good stuff that Alan mentioned, we want to make sure that the students are aware of the different programs that we run and the different projects that they are available for the students to be involved in, different activities, for example, GradStock, Career Connect, any employability related events or activities that we are running. We want to make sure that the students are aware from the beginning of the journey. Getting involved in projects, as I mentioned, and work-related activities. So majority of our students in second year can undertake an industrial placement or summer internship. So it depends. There's different programs. So for example, if I talk about my one specifically for computer science and design engineering mathematics, we have a year-long placement option. Whereas other programs like business school, psychology, natural science, they tend to involve even shorter period internships as well that can run over their learning weeks. So depending on the placement module attached to the degree, student can undertake that option as an optional. It's not mandatory, at least not for my course, and it is accredited. So again, that's where we come in as MDX Works to support students looking for those placement opportunities, making applications for them, through their CVs, cover letters, interview support, assessment centres, any kind of observation centres, kind of one-to-one support on that. And then we have final years and postgraduates where we provide graduate support. And some students, if they're in their final year of undergraduate degree, they may want to go on to do a master's or further education. So we are here to support with the personal statements that is part of the application process to make application for the further education. So some of the employability themes that I briefly mentioned previously are job application. That seems to be one of the most famous and popular one in our drop-ins. We help students with the CVs and cover letters, interviews, so we can set up a mock interview as well as providing support on how to tackle most interview asked questions that can come up, and how to demonstrate your skills. And it's not just, the majority of our students think, if I don't have relevant work experience in the field that I'm applying to, how can I really demonstrate those skills? So it's helping those students, come up with examples that can be from their academic program, as well as maybe other activities that they have been involved in, which could be a part-time work. And those other kind of, professional transferable skills, they can demonstrate from those opportunities when answering questions in front of the employer. Then there's assessment centres are quite famous here, within the job applications. At the moment, majority of them have gone online, using, like online tools. So we help students with that as well. And we try to run different assessment centres as practice assessment centres during our event days as well. For example, during GradStock or Career Connect. Or I try to set up, by working along with the employers from the industry, where we have different employers on panel and helping, providing some kind of practice activities for the students to work on, where they ask them questions at the end of it, and students can practice those questions before they actually step out to the real job application. We promote LinkedIn quite heavily. We tell students to use LinkedIn as a main kind of platform to connect with employers and search for opportunities, helping students to network with the professionals. And you know, we do provide international student support service as well. Loads of queries are related to visa team, but we do work along with our other departments within the university to make sure we are up to date with the regulations and policies to be able to provide that kind of support to our students. And you know, majority of our students in final year or master's program are international students and looking to you know, stay within this country and secure a job here. So we try to provide support around that too, where we direct them into the right you know, directions or organizations that can recruit them on for kind of tier 2 sponsorship. And then the part-time work, again, I'm going to leave that one for Claire, but if it's outside of university, part-time work, we can help students to look for that as well while they are studying in their programs. Then the employee engagement. So that's one of the main things of my role. I work alongside different organizations. So these could be employers approaching us directly, or they could be our alumni association. You know, the students that have graduated from here already sometimes like to come back and give something back to the university. So we work along with them. And I personally do a lot of work around this, where I try to set up employer workshops. So it allows students on a one-to-many basis to come along and find out about different opportunities that are available. This could be part-time work, this could be work experience, placements, internships, or graduate jobs, so early careers. And it helps them to have that kind of direct exposure to the employers and network with them and find out, you know, what is really needed in the professional industry for them to kind of skill up on their current skill set and how to improve on their job applications, rather than hearing from me in every workshop. So that seems to be quite successful in our area, and loads of my students have, you know, they do provide good feedback on that and like to come along to those workshops, and I help them as a follow-up to do their job applications from those employer engagement workshops. Then we have the personal expansion curriculum that I know Alan has spoken about already as well, but I'm going to pass over to Claire. And if there are any questions, I'm more than happy to take for myself.
Hi everyone, so I'm Claire, I'm the Employability Service Manager for MDX Works, and I'm also the branch manager for Unitemps. So Unitemps is our franchise agency that looks after part-time work for any student who's working on campus. So there's a variety of different work that students can do from year 1 all the way through to graduation. It's a nil hours contract for them, so they can do as little as much as they want. We also run the Student Ambassador Scheme, so we've currently just recruited 17 new ambassadors. So they work for things like open days, graduation, welcome. They do admin work, they work for the library, CCSS, which is our IT department as well. So there's a lot of different opportunities for graduates and students whilst they're here. It's great as well because it's very flexible around their study, so they can take as little or as much as they want. It's also been a really great way of building up the student community, especially through the pandemic. So we've been able to sort of look after those students really. They've been able to look after each other as well. So they've all said it's been invaluable for their mental health and their well-being as well. There are a variety of different franchises, so that's not only in the UK, that's worldwide as well. So currently the Unitemps franchise has offices in New Zealand and Australia, also I believe Canada. So there's a great opportunity for students across the world to work somewhere, so they don't actually have to be necessarily Middlesex students. So a student from an Australian university, for example, could work here and vice versa. So it's a great way to unite everyone, all students across the world, to give them as much opportunity as possible. So the work is very much spread over different faculties. So you've got marketing, you've got finance, library work, as I've said, within the IT department. So we really try and give our students as much relevant work experience, paid work experience as we can, that is relevant to their particular course. So it's been a fantastic the thing for our students. We opened in 2017. We've now made £2 million turnover this year, which is a great achievement for us. £5 million overall since we started. And it's great that that money actually goes to our students, that can provide, you know, invaluable experience, but also money, because we know that our students are very time poor. They're trying to fit their studies in with their work. So it's been a fantastic opportunity for a lot of our students, and we definitely hope to be able to grow that in the years to come.
Great. Thanks, Rabia. Thank you, Claire.
Thank you. Do we have any questions, guys? Any questions for operations that we have at MDX Works? If you stop sharing, okay, good. Okay, guys, if you don't have any more questions, can I just please remind you to go through the evaluation form? It's in the agenda. So there are two evaluation. There is one evaluation link, one for my session and one for this session. So please give us some feedback. Please note that Alan and his team, they are based in the main building, as I showed you before earlier. So once we confirm the dates, we have confirmed the dates. Once we confirm that you're definitely in, I will try to get the availability so we can have a meeting and discuss, so you can pick their brains up in terms of how to set it up. I think Alan, if I Sadiq, do you? My brain is gone dead. We said February, but I cannot remember which days we have in London. Tuesday.
March, George.
Sorry, March 7th.
Really, your brain is going out.
I know. We did it this morning. This morning I was taking notes, so I don't have...
You wrote these notes even.
do you remember from the top of your head?
Yes. It is around in the mid of March. We said like that.
Okay. Anyway, I'll find the specific dates, Alan, and just to see your availability as well, because it would be really good to have
21, 23 of March.
Is it for London, 21, 23rd?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm shocked.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Sarah. At least somebody has it in there. Good. So,
George, could we ask about the structure of the Alumni Center in the Middlesex, the organizational structure? I mean, some people, they are working, as I understood, for each faculty, there is someone who is responsible for contacting with the student, getting some feedback. Is this a structure? It is good if we see.
Alan can explain now, but of course, it is ideally to have a clear, when you're on campus, of course, they can explain further, because obviously here we only have 1 hour, and this is going to be... Yes. This is a video recording that we have across the campus. But Alan, if you want to say something in brief, I mean, of course.
Yeah, very quickly. So we have, say, 8.5 advisors. There are currently 3 advisors linked to our Faculty of Business and Law. We have 2 advisors with Science Technology, Rabia being one, of course. And then with the Faculty of Art and Creative Industries, we have 3 sort of advisors, and each of the advisors relates to the academics within their faculty and arranges the workshops and is responsible for the one-to-one tailored advice that they provide to students from their faculty. But each of the advisors is also have responsibility for additional programs like the MD or MD Accelerator or the emerging professional. So they also work across other kind of more wider co-curricular programs as well. And then we have support staff as well, so who look after projects, look after placements. A really important part of our work is ensuring as many students as possible can get onto credit-bearing placements. So we have a mechanism for managing that, and colleagues who manage that as well. So and then managing our online. We also have an online portal 24/7 called mdxworks.com, which we encourage students to register with. And that provides a whole range of resources and tools, as well as a jobs board and updates about events and activities.
Okay, thank you so much for this. Any other question? Maybe one more question before we call it a day.
I mean, I guess we're good.
Okay, I guess we, just to let you know that the evaluation link is on the chat if you want to copy it now, because I'm going to end the discussion and end the meeting for everyone. I'm going to stop the recording now.